righty, man. So it was funny, man. I was doing my show prep, had all these different topics lined up. And then as, you know, the day is going on, I'm like, man, it's just so much like relevant, hot news that I feel like I should just get the relevant, hot stuff first. And, you know, I get to the other stuff that your boy had planned. We'll get to that later. You know what I mean? So, yeah, with that being the case, let's go ahead and rock out. Because we did have multiple things. All right. I will first start with the I guess the big one, man, because obviously this deals with quarterback play, man. And I don't want to run from it, man. All right. Because I accidentally stumbled across this one right here. Shout out to Daniel Jones. All right. Shout out to Danny Dimes. Unfortunately, y'all saw the same reports I saw, huh? Oh, yeah, man. Steelers got some interest in Danny Dimes. They can see him fit. And I said, oof. We've gotten to that part of the offseason, baby. We have gotten to that part. We have gotten to that part of the search, the quest for the guy. All right. Shout out to Steelers Road Warrior. Shout out. And this is the beautiful part about this, man. We got to talk about him because unfortunately, if it was as simple as he sucks, then, you know, we wouldn't bring the topic up. But unfortunately, he has done enough to make it where it's enough relevancy where, yes, you do have to have these type of conversations. So let's get into it. All right, let's get into it, because we don't want to be that person. We don't want to be the person that was poo-pooing the man, didn't even give him a chance at it. And then they come in and work out and then we'll be like, oh, man, all right, you right. So we're going to do our due diligence. Just going to simply do our due diligence, okay? Steelers Road Warrior, okay? Michael G, we're just going to do our due diligence. So let's talk about it. Danny Dimes. What do we know about the fella? All right. So with Danny Dimes, man, 27 years old, be 28 in May. Shout out to him for that. Going into his 7th season, up until week 10, I think it was week 11 of last season. The only team he had played for was the New York Giants. 6 seasons there, did not get a Pro Bowl, but did get the second contract. They had just signed him to it was a 5-year, $160 million extension. And that was 2 years ago. Obviously, we know that deal did not work out the way that the Giants would have anticipated it. I mean, we all looked at him and was like, man, you about to pay this man crazy money on top of crazy money while you allow a guy like Saquon Barkley to ultimately leave and go to one of your rivals on top of that, man, and ultimately have an insanely great year while winning a Super Bowl. But that's for another day. But with Danny Dimes, though, man, in terms of what he's done at this level, throughout his first 6 seasons, 14,582 passing yards. He's had 70 passing touchdowns and he's had 47 interceptions. His best season would have been 2022 from a statistical standpoint, passing wise at least, where he was 67% completion rating, 3,200 pass yards, 15 touchdowns, only 5 turnovers, and he did that in 16 games, going 9-6-1. And that was obviously the year that he led them to the postseason with Brian Dable, and he got that contract extension that offseason. With him, though, and did he get player? I want to say he got an award as well, comeback player of the year. That's what it was. I feel like he got it, or did he win it? I gotta see if he won it that year. Actually, man, hold on, let me double check that. I want to say he did win it that year. All right, let me pull you up real quick. I'm almost certain on this, but I could be off though. I could definitely be off. Nope, I was off. He did not win that thing, man. Gino won it that year. Shout out to Gino, the other guy we was talking about the other day. All right, but he was in the running for that type of convo, mainly because of the slow, sluggish start at times to his career, man. First season in, though, 3,000-yard passer. First season, 3,000-yard passer, 24 tutties, 12 picks. They were 3-9 in 13 games with Daniel Jones. Second year, man, obviously 5-9, 2,900 passing yards, 11 touchdowns, 10 picks. That wasn't pretty at all. Third year after that, 2,400 yards in 11 games, 10 touchdowns, 7 picks. As you can see, not the 2-to-1 ratio that you typically look for with quarterbacks in terms of touchdowns to turnovers, to touchdowns to interceptions, but still has production. Like I said, 70 touchdowns, 47 picks, 14,000 passing yards. Still is decent. 64% completion rating throughout his career is still decent. And that's the one thing that I will say. Now, when we're bringing him up in comparison to guys like Justin Fields, obviously, I don't want to do either guy a disservice in this. Let me pull his direct side-by-side comps up, okay? Let's go. So, obviously, with Danny Dimes, man, he's played in 20 more games than Justin Fields. But in terms of the big differences between these dudes from a statistical standpoint, man, obviously, we got to account for certain things. The passing touchdowns, yes, that stands out because, yeah, he's played in 20 more games, but he obviously has, 25 more passing touchdowns than Justin Fields, 70 to 45. But the interesting part is this from a turnover standpoint, man, 47 picks to 31 picks. We know that that's one of the things with Fields. We want to continue to have him going in the opposite direction, going down, which he did do a good job of this season. But the big difference to me, man, is obviously when you talk about the legs. I mean, even with the 20 extra games that Danny Dimes has played, he has 2,100 rushing yards, man, on 399 attempts. Justin Fields, 418 attempts, 2,500 rushing yards already off that. 19 touchdowns for Justin Fields on the ground versus 15 rushing touchdowns on the ground for Danny Dimes. A lot. I mean, from a statistical standpoint, those two dudes are closer together than I know a lot of us want to feel. Just because I get it, man, it's Danny Dimes, but they are closer. Obviously, when you're talking about Russ, that's a little bit of a different case, man, because obviously his full body work really, I mean, it blows both of those dudes out the water. But when we're talking about in the right now, in terms of Danny Dimes and Justin Fields, the things that I think that they present, man, is obviously the athleticism over Russ. Danny Dimes, man, yeah, he looks the part. You know, ideal size, ideal arm strength, and all the other, cool stuff that you see in a first round quarterback, man. 6'5", 230, big arm, right? Can run. But the problem with him, and very similar to some of the criticism that you've heard me voice with Justin Fields up until he came to Pittsburgh, is their lack of consistency with just the routine quarterback plays. When you're talking Danny Dimes, yeah, he's capable of making a lot of throws on the field. He's capable of taking off and running for 70, 80 yards as well. He might trip over his own feet, but he is capable of that also. He can stand in the pocket and make big throws. He's capable of a lot of things. He has pocket awareness on occasion. He can read the field on occasion. He can get rid of the ball on occasion. He can play within the system on occasion. He can give you some improvisation on occasion. But once again, the problem is this. When you're looking at Danny Dimes, and specifically what went wrong in New York on top of that was when they paid him the contract, man. You start paying him 40 plus mil. He, to me, isn't at the stage right now where he can account for $40 plus million worth of production. I think he's one of those guys that if you keeping him in the $20 million range, the Geno Smith contract, the Jameis Winston type contracts, I think that's what allows you to put pieces around him and take a lot off of his plate. I think with him, very similar to what we saw with Justin Fields this year, less is more. We seen when Justin Fields was asked to do everything in Chicago and how at times, man, it went left and a lot of people weren't the biggest, fans of his game. But then he came to Pittsburgh and we saw where it was less is more. We condensed what we were allowing him to do or what the staff was allowing him to do. And from there, we saw a more efficient, more productive version of Justin Fields. With Danny Dimes, he just hasn't gotten into that situation just yet. When you look at the situation he had in New York, obviously with Saquon, and then when Saquon left, it's, Danny Dimes. You got to make these plays. You got to be the guy every single time. That's not him at this stage. I'm not even going to lie to you like that, man. But what he does bring is, yeah, if you're bringing him in for, a very, very, very team appropriate contract, you put pieces around him, and yes, he can make a ton of those throws. He can do the running thing with his legs. He doesn't run as well as Fields, but I think he passes better than Fields. I think Fields has the stronger overall arm, but I think that Danny Dimes has better touch and placement on the football. But both of those guys, man, to me, have to just be more consistent. They both have talent, and that's why they both were drafted in the first round. One guy got one guy got franchise tag and then got the contract, but then got cut 2 years after the contract. One guy didn't get the chance to get the contract extension. Ultimately, we made the move to go and get Justin Fields. But to me, man, both of those dudes, man, you got a lot of room to grow but you also have, some big question marks with them as well. I think that, yeah, if you're trying to make one of those dudes your long-term answer, the percentages, man, if, we put in a number value on it, I'm going to put the Fields value higher because we've seen Fields in our system. But in terms of, are either one of these dudes surefire things? Absolutely not. Is the probability of Danny Dimes developing into something that we thought you saw a glimpse of back in 2022? I'm still skeptical about it just because it is extremely hard to do. And the better these quarterbacks play, they do command more money. But with that, it's the catch-22. You command more money is going to put more responsibility on your plate if these guys are not talented enough and good, and just consistent enough to warrant that. And that's where you start getting that weird feeling of, you're overpaying this guy at the most important position, but it's handicapping the rest of your squad. I think for Danny Dimes, that's the convo you got to have. That's kind of what's, how I feel about Sam Darnold. He's another one like that. I think Sam, in the right situation, like you saw him in Minnesota, you can thrive with Sam. Sam, man, had them boys winning 14 games, was a game away from being the number one seed and having a bye. But if you paying Sam 30, 40 million, you're not going to get that because you don't have all the weapons to put around him. Danny Dimes look at the exact same way. If you pay him 30, 40 million and say, man, drive this car, be the guy, be the reason, I think that you're going to be disappointed. If you get him on a 20, 25 type level contract, man, yeah, I think that allows you to put more pieces around him. And then from there, yeah, he has the talent. And that's the part. That's the thing that it is funny with Danny Dimes. Like I said, I wasn't even trying to look for Danny Dimes, but I was watching Dalvin Tomlinson. All right. Dalvin Tomlinson. Y'all know his name. He plays for the Cleveland Browns. Nose tackle. I was looking at him because I'm like, bro, I think we need, if he get cut, that's the guy I want us to go sign in free agency to go help our run defense out, bro. But as I'm watching, I was pulling up the game against him versus the Giants. And I'm like, man, let me just watch Danny real quick. This early in the season, everybody should be healthy. I'm like, bro, Danny, man, he got a couple throws in there. He got some legs. All right, I see what they like. Then I pulled up the game, obviously, when he played against us, and it was a different approach. I was like, man, versus the Browns, he dropped back a lot more, was trying to air it out, use his legs. I said, then you get him to Pittsburgh. I was like, man, we were so ready to heat him up. Everything was quick game, screens, now passes, or throwing it up top. You know what I mean? And that was the funny part with that. So I'm like, all right, okay. But then you obviously get the reports and it's like, oh, Steelers got interest. Like, we're there. Sheesh. But like I said, man, at this stage, man, everybody is on the table. Right? And the reason why I say everybody's on the table is we know we have some internal conversations about Fields versus Russ. We should be getting more information on that. They were saying next week when Coach Thomas was to have that hard meeting offensively and defensively where they decide on which free agents they want to retain and which free agents they're going to move on without. That all is supposed to be happening next week, according to the reports, man, from shout out to the homie Jeremy Fowler, man, ESPN now, man, big dog. Shout out to the homie, man. But that's what they're saying. So we should get a little bit more clarity on their direction with one of these quarterbacks starting them. But we also know, man, we got news about Justin Fields and about Russ as it pertains to, our quarterback situation, man, from an internal free agency standpoint, man.